Salute. Pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can you just please stay there for a few seconds? Shelby Ann Reed is an 8th grade student at Albert Einstein Middle School. Shelby Ann is an active member of her school and neighborhood community. She is a member of the speech and debate team and plays soccer for her school and a local league. She is very involved with her church community and sings worship for her congregation. Before the holiday break, Shelby Ann developed the idea of creating a toy drive at her school. Shelby Ann organized a huge donation initiative that was supported by many teachers and students. The toys were donated to many children and families in need across the Rosemont community. The Board of Education is proud to recognize Shelby Ann Reed as our stellar student. Would you like to say a few words?
Do I need to use the microphone? Okay. So thank you. I'm extremely honored for this award. I actually wasn't really expecting it because I just thought I was doing what was right. So it seems to me that many children in this generation take for granted what they have, and I just wanted to acknowledge those children in the community and in this world that don't really have much, and I just wanted to bring happiness to their lives and just like make their spirits happy for the Christmas and the holidays.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I believe we have public comment.
We do have one comment on this item from Andrew Maloof.
Hi.
No, go ahead.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a while since I've stood up here. Weird. So I am part of the Rosemont Community Association, along with Anthony here. We worked together in organizing this toy drive. I was Santa one night, sitting in the fire truck collecting all the toys that were delivered. And then we were talking to Mr. Kirkland at Einstein, and he told us that Shelby was organizing her own and needed a way to get them somewhere that they were going to be used. So we jumped in. We told her we would take them. We went to the school to pick them up, and they were carts full, and it was a great time. Then I heard her up here talking. There are not many 8th graders that think the way that she do. If we had more, we would not be in such an issue that we're in. So on behalf of the Rosemont Community Association, we would like to thank you as well for your help, and that's it for you. We're good. We're going to take a picture, though. No problem.
Thank you so much, Shelby. All right. Item 5.0, announcement of action taken in closed session.
Thank you, President Pritchett. We have one item regarding 3.1 on the agenda. The board resolved Office of Administrative Hearings case number 2015-030-166. It's a case with a minor student regarding special education services. By unanimous vote of 5-0, with members Arroyo and Rodriguez absent at the time, it resolved the matter. It concludes the OAH matter in return for educational expenses and a settlement of all claims. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Item 6.0, agenda adoption. Can I get a motion? Second. Okay, first and a second. All in favor? Aye. Great. And fantastic. We have adopted our budget, I believe. There's no abstentions. All right, item 7.0, special presentation. 7.1, recognition of John Still K-8 School Meadowview Collaborative volunteers. Mr. Brown.
Good evening, President Pritchett, Superintendent Banda, and fellow board members. I have the great honor to be the principal at John Still K-8 School, and this is my learning sports specialist, Amaya Weiss. We want to take this opportunity to recognize the commitment by 3 separate groups. Each of these groups have connected with our school and our community to support our children. These groups have made a considerable impact on the climate and culture of our school over the last 3 years. This partnership has resulted in a positive impact on student learning and has provided us with resources to support families for not just our school, but the greater Meadowview area. And Amaya's going to give you some details on these 3 groups because they are angels for us.
So I just first wanted to speak about Capital Christian. Since I've been at John Still after leaving Freeport, they've been here at the school for me. And really what that means is they've provided family night dinners. They've fed over 800 students at our school. They've provided over 600 jackets every single year since I've been there. They have a football camp that our kids go to for free every summer. And I could go on, but the fact is that when the going gets tough and John Still needs something, Capital Christian has our back. And we can call them. They bring their volunteers to the school, and we're very, very grateful. So today we have Todd Jacobs, the superintendent of Capital Christian, and Phil Grams, the varsity coach, football coach. And I would like for them to come up so that we can honor them, please.
That's all right.
And the next 2 ladies I'd like to talk about is a woman named Tracy Jones and a woman named Jennifer Longoria. Tracy Jones was a stranger to me until last year, and since then she's been coming to the school with her network of about 13 women every other Thursday to fill our hope closet, to fill our food pantry, and to honor all of the wish lists that all of our teachers make. So they ask for things like printers and stock paper and fancy pens. And so what Tracy does is she sends out this wish list, and then her and Jennifer come to the school literally every other Thursday in big, big trucks, and they come and they load everything up, they clean everything up, and it's like brand new. And so Jennifer Longoria, who's also coming up, her husband is an alumni of John Still. He's now a dentist in Granite Bay, and he's come to the school to provide dental services to our children. But really, without their contribution, we would really be lacking in many ways. So I'd like to honor Tracy Jones and Jennifer Longoria. So the final people, actually, they were volunteering today, but I do want you to know who they are. They're Linda and Dave Pally. They drive from Penn Valley to work at our school. They drive 90 minutes one way to work at our school, and they've been coming here for 2 years, every Tuesday. They're in their 70s, 2 retired teachers and attorneys, and they're mentoring 5 children each. And when I say mentoring, they're mentoring children that Mr. Tafoya came into my room and said that we had two students that had 5 Fs, and now they only have 1 D and 1 F. He thought he'd never be that excited, but we're pretty excited. So we're making big movement. They're not here, but please know that they're in the Meadowview area supporting us, so much so that they bought a second house in Land Park so that they can dedicate 2 days of service to our school. And I just also thank you to Mr. Brown and to Mr. Tafoya for staying at John Still and for serving the children with us there.
Yeah, more than anything else, our student support center is the heartbeat of our school, and it connects so many different. And I know Superintendent Banda, I know Mr. Wu. You've gone to the collaborative, and you see what kind of work they're doing. And like I said, more than anything else, the support from district office to make things work. We really do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you all for your amazing work. I believe we have some board comments. Sorry, my screen was dark. Member Rodriguez.
Thank you, Madam President. So I just want to contribute to the kind words that Ms. Weiss and Mr. Brown said about the individuals who come to help our students. It's beyond help. As the member of that school, that area that I represent, and by the way, it's really nice to put a face to the Granite Bay ladies because I've seen the work that you've done. So bless you. Thank you very much. But Ms. Weiss had such a heart, and this all started when, unfortunately, Freeport was affected, and she really poured her heart and soul into those students. And I remember, you're going to make me cry. I remember her coming to me and saying, I don't know how I'm going to help much more students because I thought I had it, handled with just this few, and they need so much. And I just want to thank you all and for what you've helped Amaya and Mr. Brown and Mr. Tafoya at that school, and all the teachers that are there, all of the other staff that work at that school. I don't know if you really understand that one little gift that you give to a student that is in so much need really, really does make a difference. I was one of those students. I grew up in poverty. I went to many of the schools here in Southside Sacramento, and look where I'm at. So if it wasn't for the kindness of all of you and giving back and driving and being dedicated, because that's one thing that the students consistently have, is some people who always give up on them, and you haven't. And I want to thank you, and I want to thank Mr. Brown for making that commitment. And you've made it to me, you've made it to the students, and you've made it to the community that you will stay and that you're not going to leave despite the temptations out there. Thank you.
Thank you. Second Vice President Ryan.
Well, it hardly feels like I have anything to add to that. That was beautifully stated. I do want to just say to the volunteers, thank you for continuing to come out week after week and for caring about our students. And I also want to recognize Mr. Brown's efforts, but more than anything else, I want to tell Amaya that you are just such an incredible force for good within the community and within the school. You embody everything that's the best of the Hope Closet. I will never forget getting to visit you right after being elected and having you talk to me about the challenges that your families were facing, and really having this tremendous resilience of spirit and commitment to remain despite the challenges ahead. So thank you, and continue to do the good work, and beyond that, continue to inspire our community and our young people to grow up to become just like you.
Thank you again for coming out and for the beautiful work that you are doing. All right, we are on item 8.0, public comment. Oh, you know what? Hold on just a second. We have a statement to be read.
This meeting of the Sacramento City School Board is being recorded in its entirety and will be cablecast without interruption, with the exception of technical problems on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse. Today's meeting will air Sunday, January 10th at 9 a.m., Monday, January 11th at noon, and webcast at www.sacmetrocable.tv. Members of the audience wishing to address the board should fill out a speaker identification form located in the back of the community room and give to the Chief Communications Officer, Mr. Ross, prior to the conclusion of the item's presentation. Please speak into the microphone when addressing the board and state your name for the record. Please limit comments during public comment to items not listed on the agenda. If you are found to be commenting on an item that is on the agenda, you will be asked to defer until your item comes up on the agenda. Please turn off all cell phones or place them on silent or vibrate.
Thank you. Public comment.
We have 4 comments on 8.0. If folks can please line up behind the microphone in the order you're called. Darren Swen, Lindsay Philby, Rod Kunasaki, and Dennis Ishisaka, Christy Correa, and LaShanya Brazil.
Good evening, Board President Pritchett, members of the board. My name is Darren Soon. I serve on the board of directors for the Floodplain Management Association. We're a professional organization focused on effective floodplain management and reducing flood risk in the region. We span California, Nevada, and Hawaii. This year, at our annual conference, we'll be hosting it in Sacramento at Sacramento Convention Center on September 6th through the 9th. And the theme of the conference is Building Community Resilience Through Action. Last year at this conference, we had over 500 people attending, and we had across 20 states, people from 4 different countries as well. And this year, we're hoping to build that resilience, educate the community, and getting folks informed about their flood risk. To that end, I'm here tonight to request your participation from your high school students to participate in a logo design contest that we're going to run from for the month of February. And I think you have the handouts now that define the criteria for the contest. For an award, we're looking at $500 in recognition at the event. So we really encourage your participation and thank you for your consideration. So any questions, I'd be happy to answer if you have any.
Oh, we do have one question.
So how do we connect? What's the right way to connect with the organization if we have students that want to participate?
So I spoke with Ms. Weeks a little bit earlier, and she's going to send the information out to the principals. But for the submissions to the contest, there's an email address on the form, admin at floodplainmanagement.org, I believe is the email address.
Thank you, Mr. Shum.
Thank you.
Good evening and Happy New Year. My name is Dennis Ishisaka. I'm the president of Restore the Roar Athletic Booster Club for CK McClatchy Athletics. I'm here along with my colleagues, Rod Kunasaki, Lindsay Philby, Christy Correa. We're all alumni of the school, and we love our school dearly. A couple of meetings ago, we did make a presentation to you folks regarding the concerns that we have with regards to the athletic facilities at CK McClatchy. And we look forward to continue to attend these meetings to keep this topic at the forefront as you folks go through your process of budgeting and such. And we would strongly encourage that you folks take into consideration the concerns that we've brought forth with regards to to the state of the athletic fields to try to improve those fields so that our student athletes have a safe place to participate in. We look forward to working with Jay and the CKM administrators, and we'll work very closely with you folks to make the school facilities a better place for our students and our athletes. I'm going to defer the rest of my time to Christy Correa, who has a couple of comments, or Lindsay.
Okay, well, I need 2 minutes. So. Good evening, President Pritchett and Superintendent Bonda and the rest of the board members. I'm getting good at this. I brought some photos. I mentioned last time that I know you probably haven't seen some of the facilities. So this is the track. This is the north end. And I kind of did a panoramic of the view. This is the end of the baseball diamond all the way out to the asphalt, which is cracked. And this is the condition of the baseball diamond, the old backstop, old bleachers. And my main focus is the track. And it's for selfish reasons because my daughter has to play soccer on it. So she's a senior, and, you know, everyone's got their own motives for all of this. But, you know, I just heard of a boy tripping in a baseball player tripping in one of the tracks the other day. So it's ongoing, and it's real, and the conditions are very poor. These are actually, those bright spots are actually mini little ponds in the middle of our soccer field. So this is what girls soccer plays on, boys soccer plays on, and every other team that plays against us. So this is the track. It's really old, so I know this is getting redundant, but this is, you know, these water puddles are, this is our track. This is it, folks. This is all we got. So, I mean, this is like over 4 inches of water. These are some of the gopher holes that I'm fearful that my daughter's going to rip her knee or ankle in. So I have plenty of pictures. I can send any of you the digital images of these. These are the potholes that we have to walk in through the dark to get from the gym to the parking lot. And it's pitch dark, not just dim, black dark, like you would be afraid. You could get mugged very easily in our parking lot. This is the back end, so the west end of the track, large puddle. So I don't think we get to fairly compete in the district just because our conditions are so substandard. So one more thing I'd like to say, that I know we have Measure R money that needs to be decided on, but I know there's also other funding that we can look at. I've been talking to my friends, and they're telling me things like there are cap and trade funding that we can look at. There are SB 350 green building funds that we can look at. So we can find the money. But this is a priority, and I don't want it to go overlooked. I don't want another child to get hurt because it's unnecessary. So please, I'm asking the board, I'm asking the district to really put this on the forefront and keep your fingers crossed that no one gets hurt this spring.
Thank you, Ms. Correa.
Say real quick, and I'll keep it short. Christina, I thought it was a fantastic thought in December, and everybody should be vigilant in the holidays, visiting the schools, keeping their eye on the schools, not just my own home schools, but this is the Sacramento Unified School District. This is everybody under one umbrella, and I want to let you know that I visited Didion, I visited Sutter. I was not only all over my own school of CK McClatchy, but I was absolutely watching Cal Junior High, watching the, what was going on. So that was a good thought, and I think that it should be brought up every year during the holidays because we can be vigilant and stop vandalism. We can stop break-ins. We can just by being aware. With that being said, we've invited you all a number of times to come out and walk the property. I'm hoping that you guys will take 30 minutes when you're trucking down Freeport Boulevard to come in and walk our very small. It's like San Francisco. You have to optimize every little square foot because we have such a small We have such a small footprint. Come walk it. Watch where you walk. It's very, very dark. So come take a peek. We're watching all the schools. We're all in. We're hoping you come visit the school and see what needs to be done.
Thank you for the riot. Can you state your name for the record?
It's Lindsay Philby.
Thank you.
Happy New Year, board members. Good afternoon. Ms. Pritchett, congratulations on your new appointee. My name is LaShanya Brazil, and I'm with the Black Parallel School Board, and I'm just here to give you an update of this year's work. First of all, I would like to invite all board members and staff to our open house at this Saturday at 11 a.m. It is going to be at the Old Fruit Ridge Elementary School. Again, that is at 11 a.m. on this Saturday, and you all are more than welcome to come. And then secondly, last month we had a visit from both Al Rogers and Kathy Morrison. They came out to our board meeting, and their presentations were very informative, and it helped us give a help to frame the context of the proposed strategic plan that is taking place. And then third, the Black Parallel School Board has been actively engaged in the Restorative Justice Administration Regulation Committee and District LCAP Advisory Committee as well. And we are totally so excited about this year's work. We look forward to making it happen and, just getting the work done as the year progresses. And I would like to just conclude and just remind that we would like to turn this into a 21st century multicultural education system, high quality, cultural, responsive, and community-based learning community as well. Again, LaShanya Brazil with the Black Parallel School Board. Thank you for your time.
Oh, sorry, Miss. Can you please come back up? We have a board member with a comment. Member Wu.
Oh, I'm sorry. It is at 11 a.m. and it's from 11 to about 1 o'clock at the Old Fruit Ridge Elementary, which is, I believe, 44th on 44th Street. And we'll make sure I'll have Carl or Mr. White send you a flyer.
Yes, thank you. Okay, item 9.0, consent agenda. I got a motion. Thank you. Got a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Motion passes. Thank you. Item 10.0, communications. 10.1, employee organization reports. CSA. SCTA. SCTA?
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
Thank you, President Pritchett, Superintendent Bond, and other board members. The new year has already been incredibly busy and filled with tremendous opportunities for constructive work in the district. I wanted to start with a meeting we attended yesterday with the district regarding a thorough discussion of the district's special education programs. In fact, we've had several productive meetings, and yesterday we learned for the first time in the district's interest in the possibility of extending its fully implemented inclusionary practices programs to 3 additional schools. Special education is a critical component of the work SCT educators perform every day. As we learn more about the district's vision, we look forward to working together to improve special education, providing and improving support, training, and staffing at those 6 schools where inclusionary practices are currently in place, and incorporating the successful aspects and the positive lessons learned in the district as the district contemplates extension. It's worth noting that in our discussions with representatives of the district, a fully implemented full inclusion model will require an increase in general education and, we believe, special education teachers. There is already an acute teacher shortage, and improvements in special education will exacerbate the growing crisis of teacher recruitment and retention in the district. We currently estimate that the district will need to hire as many as 200 new teachers next year alone, which leads to our next topic. Right before the last school board meeting, December 10th, we reached a conceptual understanding with the district staff leadership that would resolve the issues related to the wage enhancement reopener. It's important to note that this reopener is related only to enhancements to SCTA bargaining unit members' compensation. It is not a reopener on benefits or any other term or condition of employment. and it is only for enhancements. To date, and in conformity with our agreement, the district has not attempted to tie this enhancement to anything else. We hope that this remains to be the case because it is unlawful to do so. With that said, we reached a conceptual understanding with the district that would provide an additional 5% wage increase in the 15-16 school year, while by traditional costing methods cost the district less than $1 million more than its last position. We were dismayed to learn that the district is now unwilling to move this conceptual understanding into a final agreement. By now, we thought the finalized agreement would provide a vehicle for the district and our association and teachers to stand united in our effort to recruit and retain highly qualified educators to work in our district. We envisioned the positive publicity that would ensue when we jointly announced such a settlement. Coming on the heels of the district's decision to take a strong steps for class size reduction, with that momentum, we expected to begin negotiations of the new contract immediately, with an expectation that a new agreement would be concluded before the school year ended. Unfortunately, this constructive momentum is in jeopardy. We subsequently learned that the district was not prepared to finalize our conceptual understanding, and based on that reversal, we are at impasse. We've notified PERB of our status, and even though we are at impasse, the district has requested one last meeting, which is now scheduled for Monday. After all the acrimony of the last 18 months related to the health insurance debacle, Monday's bargaining provides a narrow window to make a significant step forward, one that will help us tackle the teacher staffing shortage in our district. And to be clear, we have no interest in agreeing to anything less than what we have previously reached an understanding about. And we have no interest in entertaining a proposal from the district that ties wages to any other provision of our contract. In fact, as reported in the first interim budget, the district's finances are even better than previously understood and justify a wage increase for educators higher than 5%. Some board members have publicly stated the need for Sac City wages to be more competitive with other districts, recognizing that a 10% increase would be more in order. Monday is an opportunity for the district to set the tone for the remainder of 2016. Are we headed to a year of constructive dialogue and creative problem solving, beginning with the need to recruit and retain teachers? We hope so. Thank you very much for your time tonight.
Thank you, Ms. Malewski. SCIU? Teamsters?
UPE?
Item 10.2, District Parent Advisory Committees. Community Advisory Committee. District Advisory Council. District English Learner Advisory Committee. Gifted and Talented Education Advisory Committee. Sacramento Council of Parent Teacher Association. 10.3, Superintendent's Report.
Thank you, Madam President. So tonight I wanted to update you on the progress we're making in this district toward a more equitable organization for families and the children that we serve. This is my vision for the district, that every student at every school has an equal opportunity to succeed. Some people may think of equity as a program that we employ to adjust or correct an element of our system that isn't working quite right. They may think that equity just refers to discipline practices or support services in our district. But equity is much more than that. It's a mindset. It's how we must approach every decision that we make. It's about every adult in our system truly believing that every child can learn and that every child deserves a quality education. Right now, we have several equity-related initiatives that we believe will make schools healthier, safer, and happier places for children to learn. Those initiatives include social-emotional learning, restorative justice, and positive behavior interventions and supports. I'm very proud of this work and believe that it's making a difference at our schools. I was out visiting the schools, a number of schools on Wednesday, and had an opportunity at one of those schools to talk to a student. And this is a school that's been using social-emotional learning components in the teaching. And it was very interesting, sixth grader, to have a conversation with her, to ask her, so tell me about social-emotional learning and why it's important. And she was able to not only tell me what it was about, but be able to use the verbiage that goes with social-emotional learning. And it just, to me, just showed a lot of maturity on her part. And I said, well, in your eyes, do you think this is as important as the academic programs and the learning that's going on? And she said, absolutely, she wished that they were doing SEL at her previous school. And I said, why is that? She goes, well, some of the students that she knew, not her particularly, she said, but some of her fellow students had issues in dealing with conflict and disagreements. And she said she wished she had that skill set then to be able to help them work through those particular issues. And so really it is about helping the students to be able to self-manage and be able to handle the conflict that they experience in their lives, whether that's at home or in school. That being said, I'm also very proud of the employees who have committed themselves for this work, because obviously that is a school that is committed towards the SEL. In fact, 90 certificated and classified employees have volunteered to give up part of 2 upcoming 3-day weekends to be trained in restorative justice. These trainings will be led by 9 of our teachers who have been certified by the National Institute for Restorative Practices. We'll also be training our after-school providers in SEL at an upcoming 2-day workshop. This is exciting work, because we're talking systems work, not just a program, something that we're going to plug into a school, but it's our intention to continue to roll out these practices across the school district. So it is exciting work. The bigger issue that we're working on right now is how to unify and integrate these initiatives so that they all work together. And how do we scale up? Right now, these initiatives are only in place in some of the schools. So part of that is, how do we continue to roll this out district-wide so it becomes a part of everything we do in this district? Also, we need to establish what a positive school climate looks like and come up with a way to measure our progress towards that goal. Indicators that we're going to be looking at include attendance rates, suspension rates, student and parent surveys, and additional data gathering goals. These are questions that I think we can tackle through our strategic plan process as well. As you know, the process for developing a new plan is currently underway. So I want to thank board members for their valuable direction and input at our special strategic plan meeting last month. And we're continuing to engage our stakeholders across the communities on real grassroots levels. We want to hear from every parent, every community member as much as possible. And we look forward to bringing up the first draft of the plan to the board and the public this spring. Equity will be at the core of our new strategic plan. Again, equity is not a strategy. It's how the adults in our system think about their work. Shifting that mindset is a big job, but I think that we have the team in place in our equity office to get it done. If you haven't already, I would encourage you to take a look at the equity newsletter that the team is putting together every month. It's instructive, it's inspirational, and it gives our employees a lot of good ideas to think about. I also want to thank Doug Husher and Shauna Franzella for producing that newsletter, and I know Maicy is also very much involved in our equity efforts. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent Banda. Item 10.4, President's Report. Coming back from break, I know that there's a lot of work ahead of us. I just wanted to say that I have a very short report, but I do look forward to the vigorous work with our district staff on the many issues and things that we have to work on. Not many times do we get to gloat about other board members on this dais, and I would just like to take the opportunity to do so. Our very own, I believe she had to leave early, but our very own member Rodriguez was recently mentioned in a news article for, I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, but Vida en Valle newspaper. And she was, there was several Latino officials and leaders in our area that were noted for their remarkable work in our area. And Member Rodriguez was one of those that was recognized for her work. So there's a long article about all of the remarkable accomplishments that she's made on her time on our board. And like I said, I love gloating about our board, and I think that, you know, talking about our each of our work on the board is something that we should strive, and we should look at this article and just strive for greatness. That's my report. Item 10.5, Student Member Barry.
Happy New Year, everybody. That's it.
We all had short ones today. Item 10.6, information sharing by board members. Second Vice President Ryan.
Member Berry, you were so concise and cogent. So since you were gloating and bragging about Member Rodriguez, although she's not here, being mentioned in that Vida and El Valle article, absolutely want to echo your sentiments, but I just have to say, because I'm incredibly proud, my father-in-law, John Mataka, was also called out in that Vida and El Valle as a top Latino leading environmental justice work in the Central Valley. So I had to mention that. So just two quick updates that I want to share in the fields of arts, education, and anti-bullying. Obviously, we're all coming off a holiday break and hopefully newly energized for the hard work ahead. I'm really happy to say that we had some good work being done around our partnership with the Studios Project at Fremont Adult School leading into the holidays. As you know, part of us providing that space to our arts groups is an agreement that they will in turn give education benefits to Sacramento City Unified School District low-income students. I'm very happy to say that they donated 160 tickets to the Nutcracker Ballet as part of those educational benefits. And over the break, I've had an opportunity to work with a nonprofit that does urban arts education programs to develop a plan for what the mentorship and teaching component of those educational benefits could look like moving forward. I'm also happy to share that as we talk about the Fruit Ridge Collaborative work and the Black Parallel School Board opening up their open house and their new space over at Fruit Ridge Collaborative, we were able to utilize that space with the help of the district donating more than 200 chairs for our Oak Park version of the Nutcracker, which was sold out for every performance. And I was very happy and fortunate to be able to donate 50 seats for students in area schools for Area 7 to attend that Oak Park Nutcracker Ballet. We're hoping to be able to utilize the beautiful space there for many more such events. And then finally, I just wanted to share that last year I brought before the board an effort called No One Eats Alone, really a part of a state and national initiative to end bullying and social isolation. As we know, in the middle schools, this is a prevalent problem and has unfortunately plagued many of our children. We are going to be doing No Child Eats Alone again, not just in Area 7 schools in my area, but hoping to expand it in other middle schools for February 12th. You know, it really coincides with Valentine's Day to shift the conversation, not around how we're providing other people love grams, but we're instead focusing on how do we open up a conversation that allows us to break down barriers, develop friendships, and really ensure that we're figuring out a way to be kinder to our peers at that very difficult time of year. So those are my only updates right now, but Happy New Year to all.
Vice President Hansen.
Thank you very much, and Happy New Year's to everybody. I was particularly excited to see the district move to the class size reduction of 24-1, the first district in the greater Sacramento area. I know it's something that was the #1 request of our LCAP last year. It's been a big point for our teacher partners and many of our other community and parent partners. So it's something that we absolutely should celebrate every day. I know there'll be some work that the district's going to have to do on the facility side to make this happen, but it's absolutely the right thing to do for our students, and it's going to be very exciting for all of them. So that's something I want to keep touting. It's definitely making Sac City Unified a destination district, something that we're all proud of and something we all need to work on. Last night we had our first community meeting at Washington Elementary School as we prepare to reopen that for the 2016-2017 school year. Our wonderful new principal, Dr. Hema Gadina, led the discussion. We had approximately 60 parents, students, and community members in attendance. Very well attended. We're really excited about it. We're going to have one more meeting on January 19th, so would absolutely like to invite people to come to that. We had more folks than we had anticipated, and I want to thank Tu and her partner for running out and grabbing more chairs at a neighboring elementary school and squeezing them into her car. Thank you for doing that so people could sit down and enjoy the presentation. I'll say the parents that I talked to, and I talked to several, were really thrilled about the STEAM academic program. They're very excited about that, and I think that's going to be another draw for our district, and it'll help bring, not only take care of the students that we have here, but I think it'll be a draw for parents to bring their students here from other districts. Combining science, technology, engineering, arts, and math into the elementary school curriculum, I think is the right thing to do, and it's something really exciting that we're doing at another one of our schools nearby, David Lubin. So I think we can take best practices and definitely share them with other schools as we explore this more and learn more about STEAM. And I think our district will be one of the first again in the greater Sacramento area that's pursuing this, which is exciting. So, and then lastly, I'd like to thank the Sacramento Kings. They had a real interesting project. They called Dr. Godina at Washington and want to talk about the STEAM program and how they could partner and get more young women, girls involved in that education curriculum. So they brought Miss America 2014, Nina Davioluri, who's a college graduate and a major in brain behavior and cognitive science, was here for the day yesterday, and she visited a couple schools, and one of them was McClatchy. So I got to join them, and she gave a presentation to the girls and the boys in a couple science classes just to talk about how important it is to focus on academics and to do that work, and you can, everyone can participate in that kind of science and engineering technology. She was really inspirational. She was a lot of fun and very generous with her time. So just like to thank them for doing that. And of course, doing it at McClatchy is very important too. So, but I know she visited a couple other schools as well. I don't know what the other ones were, but I was excited to join her there. Oh, thank you.
Seeing no other board comment, we'll move on. 11.0, Board Workshop, Strategic Plan, and Other Initiatives. 11.1, Board Reconsideration of the Adoption of Attendance Area for Washington Elementary School, its impact on Theodore Judah Elementary School, item previously introduced and approved at the November 19th, 2015 board meeting. Ms. Hardin-Young and Ms. Mua and Mr. Dobson.
Good evening, Superintendent Bonda, Board President Pritchett, and the rest of the board. I'm joined tonight by my colleagues Tu Mua and Jim Dobson. We're here tonight at the board's request for reconsideration of the attendance area for Washington Elementary, which was previously approved on November 19th.
Good evening, which means Happy New Year's Among. Just to provide a brief background, wanted to bring your attention to remind you that, as you will recall, on March 12th in 2015, we held a community meeting to discuss the reopening of the school, hosted by Vice President Hansen and City Council Member Hansen. Also, do remember that on August 6th, the Board of Education voted to reopen Washington Elementary school year for this coming school year, as well as do recall that on November 19th, we established a new attendance area for Washington Elementary School, which revised the attendance area for Theodore Judah.
As part of the November 19th vote, the board requested that a community meeting would be held to gather input on the change to the attendance area at Theodore Judah. And so that meeting was held on December 8th, and the staff you see before you conducted that meeting, so we were all there. You received a board communication that Friday, December 11th, that included the meeting notes as well as the PowerPoint for the meeting. And you should have before you a folder where we made an additional copy for you for this evening.
So just to review a little, the map before you is the current attendance area assignments for William Land in the blue, and Theodore Jew, at least on the screen, it looks a little beige. The action the board took on November 19th or any reconsideration tonight will be effective for the 2016-2017 school year. This map represents the former Washington attendance area that was in effect when Washington School was closed. And then this map represents the action taken by the board on November 19th. The area circled in red was changed from William Land to Washington, and the area circled in blue was changed from Theodore Judah to Washington.
So at this time, we'll turn it over to Superintendent Banda to lead the board discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, and I think that recaps what we discussed previously, or what the board was able to review. And just a reminder again that this was the Board of Education voted back on November 19th to make adjustments to what was the original Washington elementary school boundary. And so that was just recapped now. So part of the direction from the board at that time was to go back and make sure that we did a good job of circling back with community and hear from the community, not only the folks that might be affected with the change, but other community members. And so that has been recapped on part of the handouts that the board received, where it lists all the different comments that were gathered from that particular meeting. And so really it's not any recommendation from staff, it's really the board have an opportunity to discuss it, and then we'll have to make a decision. And one decision would be to leave the boundary changes as they are, or the other one would be to make a recommendation to move the boundaries back to the original boundaries that they existed prior to November 19th, 2015.
Vice President Hanson. Oh, you didn't push your button. Okay, I thought that's what you were doing over there. Do we have any board comment? Member Cochran.
Thank you for the presentation, and I'd also like to thank you for the work that you did in follow-up and having the community meeting. It was very important to the community. What we looked for at that community meeting was the will of the parents and the will of the community. It was quite clear from the meeting that the community, parents, representative of the PTA, and many, many members of the school community, both in the immediate area of Theodore Judah and in the area of question, expressed dismay, shock, and even anger that they were not involved in a process to make such an important decision to change a 25-year boundary. At the very least, a boundary task force should have been resurrected, or an initial community meeting should have been held. Thanks to a motion put forward by Member Ryan last time, who clearly realized that the will of the parents and the community is foremost in making any significant change to a school, we're able to revisit this issue. I'm glad that we had the community meeting. And I have to share with you that one of the things that they asked me is, how could something like this happen when a community is not engaged with a public school district? And I had to tell them the truth on my part, and that is that it slid by me, because it was put forward and it was decided that it would be on the agenda for a vote without having a community meeting. And I should have stepped forward and done that, and I didn't. But that doesn't mean that I let it rest. And I'm very glad that we did have the community meeting, because I will not have the community totally left out of a process that they need to have input on. So now that they have had input and they've clearly voiced that they do not want to change, they showed dismay and shock that there was not a sunshine on this process and they were left out. It's a 25-year boundary. Busing over railroad tracks is not an issue, and that they are against it. I'm asking the board to reconsider the vote as the amendment by Member Ryan was put forth, and listen to the will of the parents and the community, and keep the boundary intact for Theodore Judah. I think this is part of what needs to be done to really serve the people of this community. If we don't communicate when we have community meetings, or that we need a community meeting, if parents don't have a chance to have their voices heard, we're not doing our job. We went back and did the job correctly. Congratulations to this team for doing it. We heard the parents, and it's time to do our job and take a vote to keep this boundary as it was. Thank you.
Vice President Hansen.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the brief presentation. I was hoping that there would be some additional information that I'd requested, because I don't think the board has enough information to make any changes at this time. I think part of there was a number of facts that I just want to make sure are clear. The original idea, and as it is with all attendance boundaries, one, this is a very small change. There's 13 families that are at Judah currently out of this area. There's only 20 families or 20 students total out of several hundred apartments and homes, and 35% of those families, are choosing to send their students to schools other than Judah. As you well know, we have an open enrollment district, so students can go anywhere they'd like in our district, and that wouldn't change. I also want to clarify, and I think this is important for the original vote, that we're looking to balance the attendance areas. That's something that traditionally happens. It's a very small area, and it's an area that's bounded by railroad tracks. And when I originally talked to Member Cochran about this, and when she signed off and agreed to this was not something that slid by anybody. We had a discussion about this in a 1-hour meeting with staff, specifically on this and other items. The railroad tracks was a key safety factor. And I was really surprised to find out, and this helped me make up my mind even more, that we're busing students from this circled area in blue over 2 miles to Judah. I asked staff to give me a cost estimate of that, please.
We're joined tonight with representatives from transportation, but as he's walking up, I can tell you that our finance department did look at the total annual miles driven by our fleet of regular ed buses and the cost that's attached to that, and it is $2.95 a mile to transport. That's for the year, per mile.
Yes, sir. I'm Ron Hill with Transportation Services.
Howdy.
Also, the other side cost to that is on average to operate a bus. If you're just looking at the actual mileage, it doesn't seem like much. But when you start taking in the cost to employ that employee, operate the vehicle, it comes down to pretty much to close to $50,000 a year per bus to operate.
Yeah, I figured the cost would be, fairly significant. And I asked staff, why the boundaries were originally drawn like this. It's, gone in the midst of time, it seems. Because clearly there are 3 schools, Washington, William Land, and Lubin, that are closer than Judah. I assume there was a reason at some point in time. And, there's a lot that I'm very respectful of tradition. I know, we have a district that's 160 years old, and tradition is very important. It's also important for us to look at leveling out the attendance areas. And as I mentioned, this is a small attendance area that has 18 students, of it only 13 of which are going to Judah. And the board, I think, very rightfully and respectfully decided that all the students that were there would be grandfathered into whatever of the multiple schools that they're going to. Judah is only one of many schools that those students are going to, including their siblings, including bus transportation. I think that's a very respectful accommodation. I do talk to people in the community every day, our local elected officials, community leaders, and this was a small change. So I think if we were going to do a larger change, then that would certainly necessitate having a more full review of how attendance areas are looked at. But to me, it was a smaller item, and that's why I think we didn't get to the full-blown proposal. And the timing that we were looking at, the vote to open Washington was just a short time ago, and I wish we would have had more time to be more inclusive about all this, because frankly, if we looked at attendance areas, there might be much more significant changes to the Judah attendance area. You know, who knows how many tens of thousands of dollars we're paying to transport the students from that area when there are schools closer by. And that's money that's coming right out of off other students in school books, in other supplies, teacher salaries, and everything else. And I think we really should be fair and open and thoughtful about the decision that we're making. That's why I thought the board was very thoughtful when we made the original decision to do this. And as I said, very respectful tradition, and we're not asking to disrupt Judah. They've got a fantastic program. The district's investing several $1 million in a stick-built standalone facility that no other school is getting. So I think that, there's been great respect there. The McKinley Village project, they're breaking ground. They're working on it now. I expect that there'll be students, not this upcoming year, but there'll be students coming there in 2017, right down the corner. And I look at the attendance at Judah right now is 596. And that's a very healthy attendance. And I think that there's some fear that if any little group of students is lost, that it's somehow going to open the school up to being closed sometime in the future. I do have a bit of a hard time understanding really what the objections are, but I think the board was very thoughtful. I think it was the appropriate decision that we made, and I would ask us, to respect the original decision and the original reasons. I don't think we made a mistake. I had discussed this at some point, at some length with Board Member Cochran, and she agreed. And I think, with all that impact and, the fiscal responsibility with the train tracks, with, we want to make Washington a vibrant school itself. We have a fiduciary responsibility to the whole district. And remember that only 1/3 of our taxpayers have students in our district. We have a responsibility to everybody. And we all care about our students. And that's why when we have bonds, they pass at such a high threshold, because everyone in the city cares about our students. So I want us to be fiscally responsible and good stewards of the money. And I think having a slight boundary change does that. William Land is at capacity, so they don't need any more students. In fact, we could grow that school by double, and we could probably fill it up because there's a waiting list to get into their Mandarin immersion program. They've got a fantastic program. Judah obviously has a fantastic program too, or you wouldn't have 600 students in attendance. Leuven is growing, and they've got some great programs too. So I think the board made the right decision when we slightly expanded the Washington boundaries. We're elected officials, and we're allowed to use our best judgment. We make hundreds of decisions. This district does every single day. We can't always, include and have a series of meetings to do every one. I think if we had something that was a significant decision, absolutely, that's the appropriate role for doing it and involving the community. And there's a lot of people that would be involved in this. Everyone from parents to the community to the taxpayers to, the whole community. And I wish I would have had a chance to attend that meeting. I asked for the meeting to be held at a time when I wasn't traveling, but I'd made travel plans many months in advance, and I was not available to attend that meeting. So I regret that I didn't have a chance to come and state my position to the assembled group. So I would ask our board to leave the decision as it was, as we originally made it, and appreciate everybody's time.
Student Member Barry.
So I have a couple of questions just for anyone to answer. So what everyone's talking about is the blue circle, right? Like, that's what we're talking about. So why aren't we having the same discussion about the red circle? Like, if it matters so much for Theodore Judah, why aren't we talking about William Land too? And I do think that the parents and all the stakeholders should have been engaged about this originally. I think everything the board decides on, they should be engaged on, because that's who we're supposed to be representing, and every decision we make affects them in some way, even if it just is 13 families. However, I do think it's kind of like a small piece of land, and I think because we do have open enrollments, that it's not that big of a decision. And while it does affect certain people, I think it is okay to like just let it go. But is there a reason that we're not talking about the red area? Just why is there such a big concern about with Theodore Judah but not with William Land?
Well, I would say that the approved attendance area encompasses both areas. So both areas are part of the discussion and presentation.
Okay.
Because both of the circled areas were indeed approved on November 19th as a new Washington boundary area.
For reference, there are 2 students living in the red area.
Okay.
Member Cochran?
So I appreciate your comments, Member Barry. The first thing you said, I think, is the most critical. If we have an open, fair process, thoughtful process in this district, it does have to include input from the parents. So it's unfortunate, but I'm going to have to dig into this a little bit deeper. As I said, I myself did not immediately jump on this and realize that parents were not fully engaged and the community was not fully engaged. And I would like to thank the team a lot. A question for the team. Can you think back to the meeting that we had with yourselves, Member Hansen and myself? Who put forward this change in boundaries to change Theodore Judah into the Washington area?
Hansen.
Member Hansen did. Did Member Hansen discuss engaging the community? I'm asking the team. I don't. Either anybody can answer, and it's a question. It's not any kind. I just want to remember facts.
So I think that this was put forward by Member Hansen, and I don't know if my recollection is good, but Member Hansen had held some community meetings prior to this. I don't know that he actually engaged the Judah community, but I think he had other community meetings prior to making this recommendation or having the staff take a look at this as a possible change in boundaries. As we were looking at opening the boundaries for Washington once again. So I think it came along with reconsidering Washington, since we're opening Washington in the fall of 2016. There was that recommendation that we go ahead and, while we look at opening Washington boundaries, and we showed what the original boundaries look like, that we also include these 2 little segments of other school sites attendance boundaries.
So I appreciate the input, but I'm asking a very specific question about the meeting that we had about these boundaries, and then to address the fact that it was stated that Member Hansen had community meetings. For the record, he never reached out or contacted the Theodore Judah community about making a change. I was the one who did the outreach after I realized that in a fully engaged process that every citizen and member of the school district has a right to look at big changes like this. If we want to have a fair and open, thoughtful process, we need to do that. So it's my recollection in the meeting that it was quickly put forward. Initially, I looked at the idea. I didn't think about engaging, had to go back and do that. But the ease at which Member Hansen was willing to do this was somewhat shocking in retrospect. In fact, he even joked, let's take out some colored pencils and change it right now. So this is pretty serious for me, and I want accuracy and clarity. I was never approached or talked to about this change prior to the meeting that I sat in with Member Hansen. He never did outreach or talk to the community in Theodore Judah regarding this change, and I am very displeased with this. And I urge the board to consider that all of us have areas and all of us have boundaries, and if a change is arbitrarily pushed through by this, by the will of one board member, it can happen to you as it is being tried to happen to me. There's some community members here that have a desire to speak. I want to make sure that you have a card that you filled out with Gabe Ross. Thank you.
Second Vice President Ryan.
So I have some questions for staff. I know, as I've shared with Mary Hardin Young, the process of approving attendance areas is new to me. And really understanding the role of the board and the role of our community in helping to provide input as we make a decision moving forward is essential to me in understanding how best to proceed. So I have a couple questions that I wanted to follow up on. One on the issue of transportation. So the cost per mile is roughly $295 you've shared, and $50,000 per bus. But am I accurate in understanding that a $50,000 cost per bus is not just for the bus that would bus those 13 families or the number of families within that area that choose to go to Theodore Judah, because that bus would actually be used by other schools as well or other students?
Used on a two-tier system. So on average, if our district follows a two-tier system. So if the bus is only servicing one school, then it's roughly right about $25,000. If it's servicing two schools, which the Theodore Judah buses do, operates roughly right about $50,000.
Okay, so that's helpful in terms of the cost estimate. And then I also had requested from Mary Hardin Young, and I understand that this was fairly last minute, so this is no error or oversight on your part, but there were very good notes provided from the community meeting, really articulating the concerns expressed by various members who attended that community meeting. What was challenging, though, is that listing of statements didn't necessarily identify if the person giving that statement was a parent affected in that area. So there was some guessing as to how many parents affected in that area were actually part of that dialogue. Were you able to gather anything more that provides clarity to that?
Well, we know that when we scanned over the sign-in sheet that not everybody signed in. But when I looked at the listing of the parents from that impacted area and checked it against the sign-in sheet, I know that we had 3 parents, one who has 3 children there that were in attendance from that impacted area. So 5 students represented.
But there potentially was more. You just don't necessarily have it identified per the sign-in sheets and the comments that were gathered and not attached to a particular person.
Correct. I mean, we can probably go back through and that would take some time, though, for us to recreate that. We did have one parent who attended who doesn't currently have a child at Judah. Her child is currently at 7th grade, but she has a kindergartner coming in. And she'd heard about the phone calls being made, so she attended. We didn't count that in our numbers.
And one of the other things that I am concerned with, and I know another member of our board as well, is the emails that we've received and identifying those emails and service area for the individuals who are expressing concerns from those emails. And I know that we need to make sure that we have them all to you because you weren't copied on all of those emails, so it's difficult to ascertain where those voices are from as well. Can I ask, from the community meeting that was put together, were there any voices in support of the change?
I don't recall any.
From the notes I saw, there were no voices in support of the change. So what I do want to say is, you know, I absolutely appreciate Board Member Hansen's laser focus on fiduciary responsibility for the district. And I recognize that there are myriad factors and a belief that a small number of families were affected. But what I will say is holding myself accountable to the words that I delivered at that board meeting in putting forth that motion, that if we were to, recognizing the process had not been followed in a way that we felt was community driven, find that there was a groundswell of support in the other direction, I think it would merit reconsideration or conversation. And I will certainly say, from my perspective, holding myself accountable to those words, the process was not what I hope it would be. And so absent that additional information around who the families were and their attendance area, it's very difficult for me to sit comfortably with moving forward with the boundaries as they've been redrawn.
Student Member Barry.
Sorry, one thing I forgot to say earlier, which kind of goes along with Member Ryan, how the notes from the community meeting don't really show that people are showing support. To me, they also don't show that they were showing any, like, okay. From the notes, what I took in was that most people's problems with the change was that they weren't notified ahead of time, that they weren't taken into consideration. A lot of it is actually them asking questions about where this came from and the data, and therefore, so to me, I didn't really see, I mean, it may be different if we have public comments or something, but then no one really had a problem with it either. That there wasn't much support, but there weren't many people who had a problem with the actual redrawing of the lines. They just had a problem that they weren't included in the decision earlier.
Vice President Hansen.
I want to just be brief and, try to be thoughtful and add something to the conversation. So it's not something for any of us, I think, to fall on our swords on. But to be fair, a community meeting that's sponsored by folks who are in opposition is not a fair reflection of where the community might be at. And that's why I was hoping that I would have an opportunity to be there and I could have asked people to come that I think would be supportive of something like that. So I don't think that we have enough information to make a change at a minimum. And I would certainly be open to doing a more full examination of the boundaries surrounding Washington, because I think folks would have a lot of questions about that, of why we're spending tens of thousands of dollars to bus people to a school that's some distance away. And maybe that's the right way to go about it, is just looking at a more full examination of this, so we really do have all the information. That would be my addition.
Student Member Barry.
Sorry, I forgot again. Since, because I just had a thought, since there are so few families that are actually in these areas, I think Member Hansen said like 13 in the blue one and 2 students in the red one. Like, and I know it is like a community that's still there, but could we just contact those families directly and ask them, since there are so few? Is that a possibility, of, since they're the ones being directly affected?
That would be a possibility. They were all contacted by phone and invited to the meeting, so they could be contacted again.
Member Wu.
Thank you, President Pritchett. I forgot how to operate these buttons. It's been such a long time. At least I don't have to stare at the screen anymore. So, Marianne, could you refresh my memory? The students that are currently located, who are attending, who are living in that disputed area, who are attending Theodore Judah, will continue to be able to attend Theodore Judah, and their siblings who have yet to start at Theodore Judah will also be allowed to continue will be allowed to attend Theodore Judah?
Yes, it had been decided that any students who are currently attending Theodore Judah or William Land from those impacted areas would be able to continue, and their siblings.
And so the affected families really are those who are yet to have children in any of the schools.
True.
Okay. I just want to make that clear. Thank you.
Member Cochran?
At the meeting, there was a young woman who had her very young child with her who had not yet enrolled in school, who was very, very upset that she would not be able to enroll in Theodore Judah. She actually came to the meeting, not even a parent yet, to express this feeling. I also note that there are members in the audience who were at the meeting, including the PTA president and some others who can give specific information about who was at the meeting. I can't wait to hear from them. And again, I would urge all my board members to consider, my fellow board members, to consider boundaries, their areas, and arbitrary changes. Student member Barry, I'd really like to thank your input and your thoughts. And I think that if those families were contacted, clearly each one of them would say, I'd like to keep the boundary the same.
Okay, thank you all for your comments. I have a few questions. So, Superintendent Bonda, I did make a request prior to this board meeting that those 13 families were called individually and asked where they stood on the boundaries. Did that not happen?
I don't know. I know that we had, the question that I had asked is had we contacted the families, and the response was yes, we had. I don't know if we actually asked them if they were okay with making the change. You were referring to making contacts with them to invite them to come to the meeting. So there was no other conversation with them prior to this. Mary, I'm asking.
I know that Principal Buckmaster Celeste individually called the 13 families so that she'd be able to answer questions and be as factual as possible. I know that some parents weren't able to attend because it was a December evening and they had young children and it was travel for them. I know that many of them asked specifically what it was about and she gave them factual information. I do not know the response about if they voiced dismay or surprise or agreement or disagreement, but we could certainly find that out.
I think that information is very important for us to know moving forward and making a decision. The other question I had was about busing, and I know that we said that this would save us some busing, and then the kids that were crossing the railroad tracks are currently being bused. If these families were affected and they did go to Washington, or let me back up. If these affected families decided that they wanted to stay at Theodore Judah, then they would not be bused in anymore. Is that correct?
No, we have agreed that we would continue to provide busing for the length of the family that has students in school currently.
Okay, thank you for answering that. It was one of the big ones. All right. I don't know how my colleagues feel up here, but I just feel that a more comprehensive review needs to be done. I mean, we've kind of gone back and forth. I feel that there was a meeting. We don't really know if the affected families, how they feel about it, or the area around. By these comments, I can't really tell. I appreciate the comments and I appreciate your hard work on it, but I do feel that a more comprehensive review is needed. So does my board have any comments in regard to this? Yeah. Okay, before we move, I'm going to take public comment right now.
We have 3 public comments on this topic from Rob Ferreira, Joshua Lurie, and Deborah Brown.
Good evening, board members, President Pritchett, and Superintendent Bonda. Nice to see you all tonight. My name is Rob Ferrer, and I am a parent at Theodore Judah as well as the president of the PTA. So just real quick about the meeting that did occur in December, there were families from the affected area who were present. And so first off, I would like to emphasize how excited I am to welcome Washington Elementary back into the Midtown neighborhood. Having had the opportunity to hear their new principal, Dr. Godina Martinez, speak at a community meeting held at Theodore Judah this past December, I know that they are in good hands and that school is set to be very successful. That's a great thing. Many attended the December community meeting to learn more about why the decision was made to annex what has historically been a portion of Theodore Judah into the new Washington boundary. It was at this meeting that we were able to ask many questions. What we were not able to get answered was why we, as the members of the community, were not engaged or notified that this was going to take place. And understanding absent Board Member Hansen's attendance, it still felt like there should have been an answer that could have been given. Absent any of the information, we are left to wonder why. This is not an issue that solely affects Theodore Judah. If it can be decided at any time to take a portion of the boundary from another school without including, or at the very least notifying the affected schools and neighborhoods, then this appears to be an opportunity at increasing the transparency with which these decisions are made and to be more inclusive of those being represented. I am here as a representative of all Theodore Judah families, regardless of where they live in the boundary of our school. Not all affected families are able to be here tonight, but it is the job of the PTA to be a voice for all families in our school. At the same time, this is not something that we look at as being only about our school. We look for opportunities to partner with other schools when we can and also to work cooperatively with the school board. So speaking of partnerships, and then on a high note, I just recently had a conversation with a future Washington parent about how to set up a PTA. The Judah PTA will be sharing information to save them time on getting up and running. We look forward to this being a very productive relationship between two vibrant school communities. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, board members, Superintendent Bonded, Deborah Brown. I am a Theodore Judah parent, and while my kids aren't impacted by this because we are where our houses isn't impacted, we do see this as really an issue around the engagement of community and much broader than just the little parts of the district that are impacted. And we know that ultimately this is a decision that you have to make. We elected you to make these decisions, and you have lots of complex factors that go into these, and I understand it, and you have fiduciary responsibilities to make the best decision. But one of those responsibilities is also community engagement. I think when you were elected, that was one of your responsibilities. Certainly when I vote for someone, I view that as a responsibility. And so we think that any decision that doesn't have that doesn't have buy-in, that doesn't have support, or certainly doesn't have understanding about the rationale behind it is not the right decision and ultimately becomes a difficult decision. So that's why we urge you to and the fact that questions around what engagement happened with parents and where parents stand, I think is very telling. And so all we're asking for is just engagement. We're excited about Washington opening up. Rob was talking about the great opportunities to work with them and our PTAs to partner with them. So it's all very positive. But we really think that a decision as foundational and as personal to parents about where you send your kids needs to be one where they had an understanding about why those decisions were made. Thank you.
Hi, board members and superintendent. My name is Joshua Lurie Terrell, and I am a 15-year parent of two children one child who attended Theodore Judah, one who's currently there, and one who will be enrolling this coming year. One thing that hasn't been discussed at a lot of these meetings is the interest of parents who do not yet have children, who are planning families, who have moved into that area and other areas along the very narrow boundary about what school that they'd like to have their kids at. And a number of them have expressed to other people that have talked to them about it an interest in attending Theodore Judah, and I think it's really important. I know it's much more difficult to track these people down. I know that you don't have their names, but I think if there was a broader appeal to public input, that would be a really good way of getting these younger people and young families engaged as well. I voted for Mr. Hansen, and I'm very happy I did. This is the only criticism I actually have had with you. But when you ran, you did tell me personally that transparency was something very important to you. And I think this is a really great opportunity to make the process more transparent and to open it up for everyone in the community. Thanks a lot.
Okay, well, thank you all for coming out and speaking. I'm going to go back to what I was saying earlier, that I do feel that a more comprehensive review is needed. I, too, am a parent in this district and was a PTA leader for 7 years. And if something like this happened in my neighborhood where I didn't feel that I was being fully engaged and it was kind of being swept out from underneath me, I too would be here in front of the Board of Education speaking my views. I don't, do we have to go into a vote if we decide we're going to, or does that have to be a separate vote? Okay, and then we can just. Sorry, 1 minute. Member Cochran.
I think I agree with you, President Pritchett. I think that this might be the solution. But I'd like you to, as you put forth a motion, hopefully, to really define clearly what community engagement will be, what type of meeting, where it will happen, the output to the community for invitations, so it's really clear and done correctly.
Member Hanson, or Vice President Hanson.
Thank you. Well, I certainly do support transparency, and that's think I've been very clear about why I thought it was the right thing to do. I still do, so I'm certainly not opposed at all to having a broader meeting. If we have a broader meeting, I would like it to be, my proposal would be that it be a broader discussion about the whole, the boundaries that exist there and Washington. So I hope that my fellow board members would be willing to have a thoughtful discussion about, the boundaries on this. And I guess that's maybe why I just wanted to pick a smaller place that I thought would be supportive of making Washington a stronger school. I think that's what I've said. That's what I've said from the beginning. That's when I brought the proposal to Member Cochran. That's what I did. And I regret that we didn't have a lot of time to make the decision, and maybe it was a little bit hasty. So I do regret that. So I'm not, ashamed of saying that at all. And I do want to be transparent. I think this is an important decision. But I would like, if we're going to take a look at that, I think we should really be honest about it. I mean, we found out since that the state superintendent recommends not having children cross railroad tracks. So does that mean, we're going to continue busing people who are there? And then I think we have to be fiscally responsible too. Let's talk about what the real cost is. Are students just being bused from that area, or are they being bused from the entire Judah area that goes across the 50 and on the other side of the 80? If I'm prepared to have a full, honest, transparent discussion, but if we do that, let's just put everything on the table and really be ready to go down that road. And I hope everyone's ready to do that as well. And I'm very happy to support that motion.
We're not in, we haven't even
I'm just, well, if should, something like that happen, I would, I'm absolutely in support of having a full discussion. And I think it's the right thing to do. And like I said, I think it was the right thing to do from the get-go, looking at the time that we had. And I think that, the facts still merit, the decisions that we made. And I think they will going forward. And I think there's an opportunity maybe to rebalance some of that area and to engage everybody, people with students and people without students. I mean, let me reiterate, 2/3 of the voters and the taxpayers in Sacramento do not have students in our district, and they deserve to have a voice too. Now, I'm one of those people, but guess what? I went to public school. I 100% support public school. That's why I'm volunteering my time as a school board member. And I want to represent everybody's voice here. So everyone has a reason to be part of this. We're all in this together. That's why I'm so supportive, and I'm happy to pay my taxes. I'm happy to support bonds and to be a contributor to my local PTAs and to do all that kind of work, because public education is what gave me the ability to be successful in my life. I would have had, nothing without that. And so that's why I believe in giving back. But, I want to make sure that we're all working together in this. On the board, we've got a very good cooperative relationship, and I think it's important to keep that going forward because we have a lot of big issues this year coming up.
Member Cochran?
Wider addressing of boundary changes to the depth that you're suggesting, Member Hanson, would require a boundary task force so we could have complete buy-in from all parties. We're talking about a singleton issue here, and I think if we're going to address this correctly, take a step back, have the meeting that President Pritchard has suggested, and then, after this, taking a wider look at boundaries is fine. But I would like you to recall that if you look at Washington's boundaries, you're actually moving children over railroad tracks to go to Washington school. So these are inherent problems in many areas of the district, which can be solved with a wide, broad, sweeping task force. But again, we have a singleton issue here that requires sunshine, equity, and fairness so the community can make a full and robust input. Thank you.
Second Vice President Ryan.
I would motion that in moving forward and addressing the issue at hand, we make a commitment to do the following, to ensure that we have had input from, and that means contact with, all 13 families and know firmly where they stand on this issue, and that additionally we do the hard work of identifying other young families in the area and seeing where they stand on this issue, gathering both those pieces of information and then coming back to say, based on that community engagement, here is our recommendation moving forward.
Okay. So I was just made aware that open enrollment is now. So we need to make this decision, and because it will be affecting families. So this is, first I'm going to bring this from conference to action. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. Second? Second. Thank you. All in favor? Or no,
Aye.
conference. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to put forth a motion that since open enrollment is is it currently happen? February 1st. So right around the corner. We don't have time to do a fully engaged process. So what I would like to do is to consider. My phone is like busy. What I would like to do is consider pushing this off for a year, doing a full engagement process. And, I couldn't agree more with Vice President Hanson and Member Cochran. I think that we do need a boundary task force. We need to be looking at areas. In my area, I have kids that are crossing over busy Bradshaw just to get over to a school. And I think that we need to be looking at a district, district-wide and not just in one little area. But I'm happy to focus on this area for now and start with a fully engaged process. I think the open enrollment process is going to is putting a little kink into things. So I think that this is going to have to be something that we can work on for the year, and then it can be taken up again next year. So I would like to put forth the motion that first we put together a task force that will help with the going out to the communities. And I know Member Cochran asked for a detailed list of, using our telephone system to making phone calls, emails, letters and backpacks, personal phone calls to the affected families, letting them know this is exactly how this is going to affect you. Maybe the people that live in that area can help us deliver letters to people that don't currently have kids. That way they know how this is going to affect them. And then going into a very engaged process. So that is my motion. Does anybody, any comment? Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you. Motion carries. Yes.
Can I bring up a point? And I think Mary Hardin Young might bring up this point. How does that, though, address the question of open enrollment now? So I believe, and Mary, please correct me if I'm wrong, that what we need to do at this point is say we are going to go back to the attendance area that we had previously had for that grouping of families going to Theodore Judah, recognizing that longer term, given this short turnaround, we will reevaluate that attendance boundary.
I was unclear if that was part of the motion.
That's my intention,
okay.
yeah.
So it would be back to the original boundary for Washington for kindergarten registration and open enrollment for this year, with a longer view, more engagement for next year prior to open enrollment.
That was my intention.
Okay.
I'm sorry if I wasn't clear. I saw that confusion on your face. All right. 11.2, independent audit report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2015, submitted by Crow Horwath LLP. Mr. Castillo.
Dear Board President Pritchett, Superintendent Banda, members of the board, Mr. Matthew Nataway is a CPA and partner of Crow Harvard. He has spent his last 19 years working primarily with school districts and county office of education. Mr. Nataway participates in the state audit task force and also he's a member of the California Association of School Business Offices. He works closely with the California Department of Education in the State Controller's Office. He is the individual who has signed their opinions in the audit report. He will present the audit report to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for allowing me just a few moments of your time tonight to discuss the audit report and answer any questions that you may have about the audit itself. I did have an opportunity several weeks ago to meet with the Executive Board Budget Committee and discuss the audit in great detail, as well as all of the process and procedures we went through in order to be able to issue our audit opinions. I'm very pleased to be able to tell you this evening that the district received an unmodified opinion on the financial statements. So we are indicating that the financial statements are fairly presented. Also received an unmodified opinion on federal compliance. And on page 95 of the audit report, you can see the various federal items that were audited during the current year. And lastly, there was an opinion rendered on state compliance, and we had a qualified opinion because we did have one recommendation related to state compliance. In the very back of the report, you can see that we make a couple of recommendations, one related to student body and some enhancements to internal controls, and one related to an area of state compliance related to the regional occupation centers and programs on page 99. I will tell you that the results were gone in great detail. There was a lot of dialogue that ensued related to the audit process, and I was able to share with your team that the team really did an excellent job in order for the district to be able to achieve the results that you have here in the audit, this excellent audit report. It does take the work of staff out at the school sites, the attendance personnel, student body personnel, many individuals throughout the district in order to be able to achieve the results that you see here in the audit report. So with that, those are my brief remarks, and I'd like to answer any questions you have about the audit report or the audit process.
Do I have any board comment? Do I have any public comment? Member Cochran?
I would just like to say thank you for the work that you did. In reviewing the documents, I was so pleased and felt so confident when I read about the cleanness of the bookkeeping at our various sites around the district. It is not an easy job to be a school bookkeeper. You have so many entities throwing money, sometimes cash at you all the time, and that type of precision that was shown with your report, I think needs to be lauded. And thank you for your hard work.
Thank you for your work on this.
I also want to add, I just want to thank staff. I know that we take audits very seriously. It's part of our fiduciary responsibilities. It's not just how we spend money, but making sure we track those expenditures and make sure that we can do that. So I do want to thank Gerardo and beyond Gerardo, because I think it even goes beyond the business department. Folks that do a really good job of keeping records of what the transactions and things that we're doing. So kudos to staff, and thank you for your help on that.
Great, thank you so much.
Good evening.
Item 12.0, business and financial information reports received. 12.1, business and financial information, enrollment and attendance report for the month 3 ending November 20th, 2015. 13.0, future board meetings and locations, January 21st, 4:30 closed session, 6:30 open session right here. And February 4th, 4:30 closed session, 6:30 open session, again right here. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Can I get a second? Thank you. We are adjourned.